Today's September 14th, 2024, 10:06. I want to bring to order the Parks and Projects Commission meeting, Castle Hills. Welcome. And we'll see if we have a quorum. We have a quorum, so we'll move on. And approval of minutes from August 10th, 2024. If you want to look over those and see if you have any comments.
I want to accept the minutes from our last meeting.
I second.
All in favor? Unanimous. All right, so we'll move on to that. Number 3, discussion and possible action on identified projects in the commons, shade structures, stage, and other amenities, including phase 2 of the commons project. And we have a resident that wanted to speak about something he wanted in the commons and that. Oh,
Hello everyone, apologize for my appearance. I was out in the yard this morning. I'm one of residents. My wife and I were both physicians, and it doesn't look like much this morning, but so I'm a hospitalist. You can hear our doctor. One of our passions is gardening, and then we also have 5-year-olds. That's what we're interested in. And so we've got to know a lot of the other parents, and kindergarten, first grades are all there kind of in the afternoons. And so 2 things came to mind. One is super low cost. We love gardening. We love the concept of having like a small community garden. And we noticed that in the circle path, kind of right between that path and those trees in the back, there's a perfect space right there, right next to the hose, where you could do 2 really nice garden beds. Low key costs maybe $200-300 to build it. Play drip irrigation, so it really requires low maintenance. It would be a great way to bring the community together after school, bring the kids together, see them how tomatoes grow, see how different plants grow. Maybe some parents aren't so forward with gardening. It's be a great way. My wife and I love the idea. We're willing to help out significantly with that. So that was one idea. Okay, just kind of get a big community together, very low cost, and it just gets the kids interested in something. The other idea was it's hot. So we were wondering if anybody's ever thought about putting like a small splash pad in the commons. With so many children just coming in across the street and they love them being there after school, especially in the early part of the year after school, it's really hot. And it would be relatively potential, not low maintenance, but better than a pool, because a pool you have to have a lifeguard and there's concerns about safety versus splash pad, relatively low safety concerns, especially if the parents are there. So those are my 2 ideas. The gardening, super easy to implement, really low cost, low maintenance in terms of the drip irrigation. We've done this at our home.
Can you tell us your name?
Jose Iberto Torrijos. So Jose, J-O-S-E, and my last name is Torrijos, Torrrijos. And I actually live on over here on Garden View, 103 Garden View, just across the street. So those are my 2 ideas. Again, the second would certainly be more costly for rainwater, structure, and foundation. But it seems like with so many children in the neighborhood, it'd be lovely.
Nice. Thank you. Yes, in the garden kind of, go ahead.
Bernard, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted a follow-up question with the doctor, if I may. Doctor, you had a place in mind for the community garden. Would you mind if I brought this plan to you and you mark it on this plan?
Sure.
Welcome to Castle Hills, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Where the old pear tree was. Yeah. Yeah, but it was like, it was rotten all in the middle, so they had to cut it down. But it was behind the stage, basically, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it only had like an inch all the way around of good like meat, like
Yeah.
for the tree, like it was barely alive.
Okay. And you don't have to be large, you can be small.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
So, phase two, we talked about that other portion being a pickleball court and a community garden as well.
Right?
And then if you recall the early concepts of the master plan, it incorporated a splash pad, but it seemed to be not sort of on the priority when we went through some public meetings and so on.
Mhm.
I've been involved in different cities putting a splash pad in, and so there's the good and the bad of it, especially the water utilization of it as well. So constant maintenance, they go down a lot. But it's not to say out of the question, so.
You all would like, I could get a proposal for different size garden beds and costs. I can bring it to the next meeting, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, that would be, that'd be awesome. But yeah, I think it's a great idea. Yeah, so in some of the other renderings we had, I think we had, behind the maintenance building, there's that lot. So we wanted to put a garden there when we put in a pickleball court, kind of like a play. So yeah.
That was in ideal location.
Right. And especially the water's there and, have a little,
Chances.
right. A little 3x5 garden, or 3x8 garden, be fun for the kids to. Mhm.
If I can just chime in, I just wanted to invite you to join the garden club if you're interested. They meet on the second Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. in the community room. This
On the
back-
other end of the building. Yeah.
Mhm.
Second or Saturday.
Tuesday of every month from September to May. And I will just say, I'm all for, obviously I'm also interested in gardening, and I think the idea of a community garden sounds great. I will just caution that we've struggled to just obtain volunteers to maintain like some of the entranceway beds that are pretty simple and small, and that's been a challenge. So if we do implement something, I would just stress that it's, native, drought tolerant, super low maintenance, doesn't require a lot of,
Yeah.
because it's going to be hard to find those volunteers unless, it's something that you can partner with the schools or the kids can, I don't know, just wanted to add that.
Yeah. And we start off small too, like it's
I work sometimes 2 weeks in a row, 12-hour shifts all day. I don't know. We set up the drip irrigation system, did some raised beds about 2 feet high, so you just get some 12 by 10 foot long, and you make them 4 foot wide. You run the drip irrigation in, and then you add about 4 to 6 inches of just like mulch on top. And that prevents some of the weed growth. You have your drip irrigation underneath that, and so that's water conservation. So it really doesn't require, at least for any weed, because the mulch takes care of that. And the drip irrigation, you put on a timer, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, right? And so that prevents water waste and also allows the plants to get nourished. And we plant sort of native things here, things that are very tolerant to heat here. And for example, I just moved from that house a month ago, and I still got plants growing there, and I haven't been there in a month. And so it really requires essentially no maintenance if it's gradual stuff. Probably go once a week and just take a few things out. But what I'm thinking would be labor intensive.
Awesome.
Thank
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Jack or Ryan, do you want to go on with the commons?
Yeah, so
Structures or-
I've put in front of you the rendering
Uh-huh.
that was put together by our engineers. So I and city council approved the purchase of the actual pavilions on Tuesday night. So one of the positive things is we were always expecting it to be a certain dollar amount and it came in a lot lower. That's the good thing. There's always a good and bad.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. So I'd say the bad part or what we have to work through is the next step. Well, there's two bads and one good. One, it came in cheaper. Two, it's going to take a while to get here. The second portion is that we're going to have to get a general contractor to build the pavers and the flat work for that, which it's about 13 weeks delivery time, I believe. And so we have some time to find a general contractor, purchase the stones, and then have all of that installed. So, give or take October, November, December. If it all works out, I mean, we could have these things installed, ready to go by, February, ready for the spring.
Mhm.
But there is going to be a piece of finding a general contractor, getting that flat work done. I don't know. Councilman, did I miss anything?
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Just to clarify what Ryan is saying. What was allowed by city council Tuesday night was the purchase of something from the buy board, the steel package, which is the structural steel and the roof, but that's it. So when Ryan's talking about the general contractor, they have to do everything else. The stone columns, the foundation, the flat work. There'll be a little bit of grading that has to be done because the engineers wisely took a look at it and, to keep our new shade structures from flooding, they're going to do a little bit of shaping of the earth around it. So all of that is what has to be under the scope of the general contract. Oh, and sculpture pads as well. We can't forget them. So, there's a fair amount in that GC package, but fortunately we have to wait 12 weeks or so for the steel. So we have time, as Ryan said, to get our act together on this piece. So
The monetary part was actually, I think we were looking at about 45,000 each. And as Jack said, the actual purchase for the steel and all that was only about 28 each. So it was, plus we're tax free. So, give or take we did save some dollars there. And so we do have a contractor we use for flat work who built the pass and the stage itself. So we may be able to get that done at a fairly decent cost. But yes, the general contractor is definitely going to have to follow the engineering plans for construction of it. And I hope, like by next meeting, we've hopefully selected someone to actually do that work.
Yeah.
So
That sounds great.
I know this has been like, y'all have been working on this for like a year or so. So yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for all intents purposes, it's come to fruition with a pavilion.
Right, right,
It's a
right.
matter of getting it erected and
Mhm.
final. So yeah, I mean, typically it's just going to be, our engineers are working on that. Depends on costs. Anything above 50,000, we have to go out for bids. Anything below, we usually get quotes. So give or take, I'm hoping, because originally I had targeted about $120,000 from our ARPA funds for the entire thing. And so now those came in a little cheaper. I think we may be able to get a GC and the flat work done a little less as well. So I'm optimistic. The councilman's not, but I'm trying to be optimistic because this is his area and his expertise, but but like I said, hopefully by next meeting, I can have a timeline. But ultimately, I mean, we're going to have to wait 13 weeks for product. So.
Sounds good. And so the rendering here is, there's two.
There's
The,
two.
the metal is just, this is the way it's gonna look with the metal.
Yeah.
Okay. See now.
That's a beam, it's
on two Uh-huh.
sides,
Okay,
structure span, the other side.
it's open. Oh, okay, okay.
So ultimately, I mean, our engineers are gonna work with the pavers that were selected through that company to purchase the actual pavers. And so there's that piece. And then, you know, as part of the design, they've already looked at, topo and geo for boring of the pavilion. So they've already gone through that process. Now, as Jack said, they're just looking at the drainage concept. So-
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to move some dirt, those kind of things.
Right.
So, but, I mean, we essentially paid for a engineering design for all of this, so a general contractor will just follow the engineer's plans and hopefully, at the end of the day, I don't think it'll take too long for them to build this entire pavilion with concrete work, maybe a few weeks.
Mhm.
So,
Nice.
but we should have shade by at least March, I
Mhm.
hope.
Yeah, not later than Fiesta.
No, I would get killed. I fear Judy Crawford.
All right, any other amenities, including phase two, the Commons project? Do we want to go over comments?
Yeah, I was gonna do that under comprehensive plan.
Okay,
Yeah, there's another thing that the mayor has received a call on for potential grant. And I'll talk about that, but
Okay.
it relates to the commons, but phase two.
right,
So
okay.
I'll.
It'll be later. I think so, right?
Yeah, so on that too, I think that's sort of, we'll look at that. We could either go with some kind of cantilever, or we could actually go with just like the vinyl covers. There's like a three-way kind of design you could do with
Right.
the vinyl covers that would look nice. You could match the color to the pavilions. At the end of the day, that might be more inexpensive for us because the engineers had said the cantilever was going to be even more expensive, I think, in the quote than the actual pavilions.
Right.
So that might be because I foresee, and we just adopted the budget the other night, and I was looking at ARPA funds, utilizing those and seed funds and all that, because I think ultimately, if we don't do a cantilever type, we need to do some type of vinyl covering of the stage. And then I kind of foresee that matching a vinyl cover for the playground as
Yeah.
well. And I think all of that is not expensive and easily could be purchased through the buy board. And I mean, we could use the same company that built the playground for that. They have that ability as well.
Yeah.
It'll probably cost us maybe 20 some thousand just for a playground cover, and maybe less than that for just the stage. And I don't,
Yeah.
I don't, I could probably say 99% that probably could be done obviously easily by Fiesta.
Mm-hmm.
So
Should we consider that part of phase two? You think?
yeah, if you like, I could start getting quotes for that because what I see is if there's a playground next to City Hall at Chavano Park, if you've been there, and they have the like two vinyl covers going this way and then one like this, so it covers enough shade. It was kind of inexpensive, so I'll reach out to them to find out exactly who their vendor was and cost, and we could probably mirror that at the end of the day.
I like it. Especially the shade is much
So I'll
needed.
try to have some quotes by next meeting.
It'll work. Anybody else, any comments, suggestions? I like it. All right, let's move on. Discussion and possible action on the development of the solar energy plan for the city of Castle Hills. Mr. Joyce.
Thank you, Bernard. our solar subcommittee has been hard at work over the last month, looking at ideas to suggest, recommend for the city. And have done a lot of great homework, a lot of research. So Matt and Maddie have done the bulk of this work, and I think I'll invite Maddie to bring us up to date on what you all have found.
Sure. Thanks, Jack. I left a document here in front of you, trying to summarize those three estimates that we received from Big Sun Solar. Some of these financial projections can be complicated, but essentially, I think we're looking at the fire department roof as having the potential for the greatest return with the least risk. That initial investment would be the 166,000. Return on investment and internalized rate of return are higher. The payback time is the least. The system offset, that's the amount that we're selling back to the grid, is the highest. So the total electric bill savings over the 25 years would be 311,000. We did have an engineer look at the roof, and correct me if I'm wrong, essentially they couldn't confirm or deny that.
Yeah, Maddie, it's what engineers do when they go in and look at a structure to try to evaluate its capacity is they want to see the drawings from which it was built. And those don't exist anymore. At least for the major pieces of structure. I think there's some giant trusses in there in the fire department. Oddly enough, the beams that connect across the trusses, they did have information on that, and they were able to confirm that it could handle another 7 pounds a square foot, which would be required for the solar panels. But they didn't have the data for the big trusses. I don't know, I'm not going to make any statements about intuitively, but we just need to scratch our heads, I think, Ryan and myself, and try to figure out how to get somebody in there that will find a way to say, yeah, this is okay. Because I think it probably is. You know, if the purlins can, if the secondary structure can, surely the primary structure can. I mean, logically, but they can't prove it, you know? So anyway, we're working on that, but that's a stumbling block that we have to get over. We can't, based on the data that's there now, the report that's there now, we can't proceed, you know? And I think we probably, one other thing, I'm sorry, Maddie, I don't want to interfere. But Matt had done some homework on roofs, and it sounds like metal roofs such as the one there can last like 50 years. So I think we just need to follow up and find a roofer who will give us that in writing. And at that point, I think we could feel safe to proceed with solar panels. I think the really good news of what was found was that we don't have to, it doesn't seem like we have to replace that roof. It looks to be in really good shape, although it's 25 years old, I think, 1999. So if it's only halfway through its life, the remaining life is about that of a solar panel. So that's as good as it gets, you know. Anyway, thanks, man.
Sure. One other thing to note here is that the city hall parking shade structure option and then the commons shade structure option included the cost of the actual structures themselves. So that, you know, obviously with the fire department, it's just the solar system, right? So I think we still do need a second estimate for the newly approved common shade structures to see what it would look like to put solar panels on those. You know, this was from that estimate where Big Sun would have installed the structure that was way too big. The other thing that I think we just need to evaluate, obviously we were kind of coming from this with just a financial perspective, but trying to figure out if the city has any interest in creating goals for sustainability. You know, one of the benefits of installing solar panels is reducing our carbon footprint and our environmental impact, but we haven't really talked, I think, as a city, if that's something that we're interested in establishing any goals like that. And then just a few costs. The routine maintenance, I don't think really makes a huge decision or impacted our decision. It's likely not going to be more than 1% of the installation cost annually. A lot of the things are going to be under warranty or the installer is going to cover. And really the only part that, might need to be replaced is about $4,000. So not a huge impact there. The average panel does, decrease in efficiency, 0.5% per year. So we have this as a 25-year model. So at the end of that 25 years, it looks like it'll be at about a 87% efficiency. Yeah, and then those rebates and incentives were included. So I think we just need to confirm if that's going to be a direct payment up front or a tax credit, right?
I saw some information. Like make out of it, how it worked. There's a chance. Back to the city or not a deduction off of our net tax credit. So now there's lots of hoops. It looks like all to jump back to those. I think there'd be requirements on the companies that do the work, how they employ. Lots of things I think that need to be, but the chance is, and that could drop, that could reduce the price. Another option to consider then.
So any questions or?
Just out of intrigue,
Mhm.
I'm interested, does the CPS reimburse the city for, like, overproduction at a different rate than residential? Instead of residential, it's like a 1 to 10.
Yeah,
Give
so
us-
I think that's the system offset that you're talking about. So that 80% is a good number in our research. So I don't have the estimate in front of me, but that's taken into consideration.
Okay, and then what kind of solar panels do you get?
Photovoltaic.
Mhm.
No, the brand. Is it,
So I think Solar Edge is the manufacturer.
Because I know, for example, I have Rec A right now, but SunPower used to be like the big one. They just went bankrupt. So I think knowing who your supplier is and the installer, I mean, obviously, I'm assuming this will continue to count. Like Freedom Solar, they're still warranting my old system, even though SunPower went belly up. So I'm sure you guys took it into account, but it's just interesting.
We got a couple of this bid from Big Sun Solar. And
Yeah.
Solar.
Okay.
Under the bid, and I think it's,
Okay.
that was kind of the start. I think once we got the recognition.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments, suggestions, worries?
And the one thing we discussed, Jack, for the style of the roof for the shade structure, hip roof, the way that, kind of comes from.
Right.
Just the feasibility of putting panels on something that may not work.
Mhm.
It may just not be very.
Right. I like the parking lot idea, but I don't know if it's feasible.
So yeah,
I
the
second,
only-
I second that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the big unknown there that we're is the future plans for City Hall. Like we would.
Right.
If have plans to remodel here, and that's gonna impact this
The parking lot, yeah.
$472,000 project.
Right.
So I would think that
I can
we're,
get 22 seconds, not just mine.
so I would think that we're, probably need a little bit more information before we go to city council. I'd like to have, Ryan, is there any hope from Big Solar giving us a quote on our new shade structures, putting solar panels on that? Are they tired of giving us proposals?
Oh. I think they need a little bit more. Maybe they could work off rendering size, possibly. but I don't know if they have actually call to determine that. But I mean, I can certainly get the stats from the learning and see if they can run forward for that.
Yeah, that would be helpful because I think some of our leadership is very intent on doing something in the commons.
And where would that run? What, I mean, what would it just feed back into the grid or?
Well, when it was originally, when the idea was originally done, they put one of them right next to the firehouse.
Okay, so just,
So just run to the firehouse.
okay.
But the way the shade structures are located, it's a long way from it.
Right. I mean, it might be,
Yeah, so I mean, the feasibility of that is probably damaged by what we actually want
Mhm.
in our shade structures,
right.
you know, so I don't know, it seems to me what Maddie and Matt are telling us is that the best opportunity is the fire department roof or
department.
possibly the city hall shade structure, once that's known. once
Right, right.
It's known what that's gonna be. But I think that's fair to mention that to council.
Mhm.
But I think it would help. We do have to answer the question about the actual shade structures and what that, if it's not feasible, then that's just the way life is and
Right.
that's the answer. But then I think our recommendation to city council would be to look at one or the other. The fire department or, you know, depending on what happens with the new city hall design, if it ever happens.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think if we have that one other piece, if Ryan's able to convince Big Sun to give us an equivalent proposal for the current shade structures, then I think we have enough information to go to council.
Mhm.
I'm gonna compare that to, we mirrored these pavilions like the one at Fisher Park in New Braunfels where they actually installed shade structure. I mean, solars to the shade structure, so can probably get a quote from them and or feasibility. But I think ours pavilions are mirroring, but our roof is slightly different
Mhm.
because they have a gable roof. Thank you. Architectural
Yeah.
term. Sorry. I was just gonna go like this. So yes, that might be the contrast in why they're able to do that versus if we're not able to do
Right.
it with the ones we're gonna install.
Great. Okay, so let's keep moving on. Discussion possible action on the priorities task related to the city's comprehensive plan. Mr. Joyce.
Thanks, Bernard. I passed out you guys a proposal from half that Ryan had asked for. And these are some of the priorities of the comprehensive plan. There were three of them. First is the linear park, looking at green spaces. Where can we find green spaces within the easements or the drainage channels, wherever that is? And the cost of doing that, you know, there's a lot of detail there, which is kind of shows you what they have in mind for actually getting it done. But that would take a fee of about 80,000 and they estimate about 6 to 8 months to do that, which it doesn't surprise me. So the second one then is of course, our bike plan and walkability plan, whether that's sidewalks or whatever that might be. A very similar effort. And again, that's 91,000 and would take about 9 months because they have to look at every street, you know, and if we want, you know, we could probably reduce the scope though, realistically. And say, here's, you know, here, limit your study to this and we could probably get that number down. We don't have to probably look at every single street in the city, but this is what it does. It assumes everything.
Right.
At this point. So then the last one is arguably the more important of all of these, the Jackson Keller urban planning study. And that's a big deal because a lot of different consultants would be involved. It would take a long time. We'd have to get the city of San Antonio involved because it's their street. Engineers, of course, because there are right-of-way issues, maybe some real estate people to make suggestions, architectural people to work with real estate people to make reasonable suggestions for what might happen in place of what's there. The school district would have to be involved, you know, because they occupy so much of that actually on both sides of
Both
the
sides,
street,
yeah.
come to think of it. So it's a big deal. It's a big nut. But it's, you know, the 125,000, that's a big fee. So anyway, I'd like to thank Ryan for hammering away at this, with so little on his plate, you know, so, but anyway, it's a lot of money. You guys, altogether, it's almost $300,000. And so, I mean, these are all, I mean, this is our comprehensive plan. This is what the folks want.
Right.
So I think we just have to look at priorities and strategize about where we can get some of this fee money. And that, you know, that's what we need to do. I think one of our job is trying to find money, really. Well, no, I'm mistaken. It's economic development, really, it's supposed to find the money. But in any event, we can help. But it's a ton of money that we don't have. I think ARP is pretty much used up now. I think based on the new budget, Ryan has pretty much suggested what might be there, and the council said, okay.
Right.
I think there's some seed money left, possibly, Ryan, but I don't. It's not $300,000. You know, so I think maybe we'll ask him to look at what the realistic balance in seed is, and you know, another goal for seed might also be solar, because that's a natural thing. The seed is from CPS,
Mhm.
and the idea was to use that money for things that enhanced our use of energy, or, you know, general community benefit. It's not really limited. But solar panels would be an extremely logical use of that money.
Right.
But this ain't so bad either. So, yeah, it's just something that perhaps that's something that if Ryan can get it, kind of tell us where we are with the seed, maybe we can make some suggestions to council based on what we know. So anyway, there's that piece, and I certainly welcome any discussion or questions or anything else. Complaints that way.
When you talk about the seed money, Jack, where does that come from? How does it?
That was Matt, that was a gift of something like, was it $300,000? No, it was like $600,000.
No, originally the city back in 2013 got like
Yeah.
800,000 from CPS, and it was funds given back to cities.
It's
around the
CIDP.
It was for doing conversion underground utilities.
Okay.
And so, kind of an economic development thing CPS was doing, like,
CIDP.
yeah.
Investments.
Yeah, so they gave 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
10 or 11 years ago, they gave cities dollars back for unused seed.
Okay.
So I think the city at the time, I think got 800,000, I think what I looked back into. You know, and we've utilized some funds during my time here to purchase building improvements, generators, all that kind of stuff. So
You have to use funds like for energy kind of specific projects?
there's no real stipulations on them. I mean, I understand there might have been some guidelines, but you know, and I would probably say we're probably the last suburban city that probably still have funds available.
Yeah.
Or left, from that standpoint. I'm guessing that.
Mhm.
So.
It just seems, of those three things, like the Jackson Keller, like we would have to prioritize.
Yeah.
And I go back to the other two are nice, but Jackson Keller, I'm thinking safety,
Mhm.
crime. We've got City of San Antonio hopefully contributing part of the cost to that. But when you ask for thoughts, that's my thought.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
definitely.
thank you, Cindy. That's very, very helpful. Thank you.
And I was gonna, if you hadn't been here to say that, that's basically what I would have said as well. That rather than trying to get a whole 300,000 for all three, we should prioritize. And strangely enough, I also thought, and from what Mr. Joyce said, the third one, Jackson Keller, seems to be what we all consider to be the highest priority.
Priority,
of the
right, yeah.
three. So, again, I think we should focus on, taking it bite by bite and, do the pieces that we have money for now. that we can get the money for.
Great, thanks.
Well, one of the benefits eventually, if we and or working on is to eventually meet with the District 1 councilwoman. Some folks I used to work with, City of San Antonio, in transportation, and coming up with a plan, because the things that are needed for doing this plan, City of San Antonio might already have those resources. They may already have those particular consultants on demand. So it might be easier for them to work up a study and we just contribute dollars to the total cost. Because it's at the end of the day, it's their road for them to maintain, deal with, from that standpoint. So maybe we can go to an interlocal agreement saying that the city here for us may only have to contribute, say 40 or 50,000 and let them take care of it. That would be my recommendation from that standpoint. So.
Right.
I think we can work intergovernmentally with them.
Perfect.
So Ryan, if I may ask, is that on your to-do list now?
I've already worked to try to make contact with some folks over there. So
Good, thank you.
just informal, but I think at some point we'll have to put it in front of the District 1 councilwoman, and then sort of have a meeting, and then we'll ask for a recommendation at some point, because I think they have plans for improving the infrastructure of Jackson Keller. And it may not be till the next bond project in
Right.
2027 for them. So,
That's okay.
yes. So I can wait.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I certainly understand the logic of that as well, because if you ask for all of it, and then they could only promise, say, 2/3 of it, at least you've got that 2/3. But if you only ask for one part, just the Jackson Keller amount, then you're likely to only get that. So that's been my experience.
Yeah, and they may have already done some feasibility of the road already that we don't know.
Right, right.
It would be a layer of the study itself. Who knows?
Yeah, because I guess the drainage would be the really big, like, infrastructure part, right? Like,
Yeah.
you have to do that first before you.
Yeah, drainage is a big component with probably Jackson Keller and like it is on Lock Hill. So, we're about to go out for bid for the drainage improvements at Carrollwood and Lock Hill, and San Antonio it went in $800,000 to fix the road at Lock Hill as part of our project. So
Yeah.
obviously that we have the ability to work with them and obtain dollars through a partnership. So this could be the next partnership. And again, talking further is where we're gonna work to fix Carrollwood and Lock Hill, but you have that ponding water a little bit further down at
Right.
Glen Tower, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're already aware. They went in and changed out the culvert there, inlet, to let more water in, but there's just so much. But what happens there is just San Antonio, it's their responsibility, right? So they've already looked at the cost from going Glen Tower all the way down to behind Peg Sue where the water would drain.
Right.
We're talking $7 or $8 million because they'd have to build a bigger culvert underneath the road for that
Right.
expansion and capability of that stormwater. And so that might be a future bond project for them.
Mhm.
But I certainly don't think we could ever go in with them on a $7 or $8 million project, so, but who knows?
Right.
But like, that's just one example of legwork they've already done on a particular road that's a boundary of Castle Hills,
Mhm.
So. But it's been a good thing to work with them and partner and get those dollars, especially in the past when some people said we need to sue them for drainage,
Right.
which would never work.
Yeah.
So,
Let's work together.
yeah.
There's a lovely little open green area there near that street and Lock Hill where that drainage comes across that low point. It's a beautiful, it could be a beautiful little park.
Right, right, right.
You know, it's real little, but if it's gonna become a big culvert one day, that's probably not such a good idea. So it would be good to talk to them about that.
Yeah, I know we're kind of getting off topic of the agenda, but I mean, that there's actually over there, I found out more and more that there's residents over there who take care of that area
Right.
themselves. They mow it, they uh, maintain it, and so they take sort of ownership in that area. But at the end of the day, when the water comes through that basin, it's now going to go underneath the road all the way down Carrollwood.
Oh, nice.
So, and then any water that's on the street is going to be, it's going to kind of fan out at the curbs on both sides of Carrollwood. So that water will drain in like an inlet there too.
Mhm.
But yeah, I found out that the residents over there, because you know, I talked to somebody over there and met with some residents when we met with public works staff from City of San Antonio, and come to find out they were really well, not upset, but they were just wanting to know what's going on because they took ownership of that area.
Right, right.
I don't know if you could make a park out of it just because it might be considered a flooded property. I mean, FEMA, I mean, not FEMA, but what do you call it? Just an area where they've deemed that as a basin where you can't do any type of improvements on
Can't
it.
build anything, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know, I think there's a way around that if you're talking about a linear park.
yeah.
Because I mean, they understand it's gonna flood. There's nothing there but sidewalks and anything else is, you know, anchored to the ground. And most of it's plants. I don't know, good question though.
Mhm.
Okay.
The second thing of three that I want to talk about is just briefly let y'all know that I think we might even have mentioned this. Forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but council approved the idea, speaking of City Hall, of turning Ryan loose to go find some bids for that, to come up with a concept plan based on what a subcommittee of council came up with. And so Ryan is authorized to put an RFP together to go find an architect to help us come up with a concept plan for this building and the police department. So that's in the works. Then the final thing I wanted to do is something that Mayor Trevino and I have had a couple conversations with a group who is interested in fitness. I said late last night, I sent you guys the proposal. I'm sure you haven't looked at it, but we have it here. And if Ryan doesn't mind bringing it up, I'd like just to walk you through it. I believe they have contacted him, and it's called the National Fitness Campaign. And they are interested in the area above Public Works, what we call Phase 2 of the Commons. And they have a program where they can give us a grant for $50,000. But the hitch is you have to buy their fitness stuff. There's this gym, and we'll walk through it. Ryan, if you don't mind advancing, we can go to the next one, please. A lot of this is kind of fluff. This fitness court, there's two possible products that they have. One is a fitness court, and then the other one is fitness gym or something they call it. We'll see it in a moment. One is smaller and one is larger. Next one, please, Ryan. Okay, there's the fitness court, and it's basically a big mat on a concrete pad, and you can have aerobics classes there, Pilates, any kind of activity like that. And I believe in the expanded version of it, which in the slide that Ryan's got up, other way, please.
Sorry, it's the PDF is hard to control here on this.
Oh, okay,
It's not a PowerPoint.
yeah.
Hold on, let me try to. Yeah, that's what I was going for. Hold on 1 second.
Is it it's just a group, or is it government funded, or,
I think I don't know.
okay,
I don't think it's government funded.
okay, it's just a private
I
nonprofit.
think it's a
or-
private group who is offering grants. But it's a grant, and there's the full one there. There's a nice picture of the full one. And you can see the mat in the foreground, and then in the background, there's a structure that's painted with some sort of artwork. And on the other side of that are some sort of fitness machines
Neat.
that folks could use. So that's the big deal. And that one is like 35 by 70 or something like that, whereas the fitness court alone is 35 by 35 roughly. Oh, that's it. They call it the fitness studio. The big deal they call the fitness studio. But
Pull-up bars and,
the grant is not available unless you buy that.
Mhm.
So Ryan, if you don't mind advancing, and you can, there's the fitness side of it. That's what's on that. Next one, please. There's the art. And then for an extra charge, they'll have artists come in and do that for you.
yeah.
And, pardon?
What can the grant be used for?
Putting this
To the
thing in.
cost.
Yeah. And then the next one, please, Ryan. That's how the
It's
art
called
might
a-
happen.
It's called a rebate.
Yeah, I don't know, the mayor and I came away thinking that they're selling fitness courts, and
Yeah.
that the grant is kind of, wait till you see the cost. Please come down to the cost, Ryan, if you would. Okay, that's the steps and all that. And eventually they show you the cost.
So
Is the idea,
The 60,000 looks like.
Yeah, yes, Maddie.
is the idea for this to replace the pickleball court, or this in addition?
It would be in addition. In addition, yeah. And they have a drone or something, and they have a picture of our grounds, and they put a nice little square where these things could be,
Mhm.
up there. So to them, it was a perfect match. We were not convinced, but in any event, the cost is huge. Forgive me, I'm going to speak honestly. It's huge. 50,000 grand. Well, how nice. Well, help us build our pickleball courts in our community garden.
Yeah,
How
right,
nice.
yeah.
Oh, but you got to buy this gym. And if you buy the smaller one, by the time you look at installation costs, it's $150,000 roughly. And the larger one, it's $260,000. And I think that's after the grant. That's after the grant. So, I don't know. I think they're selling gyms,
Yeah, which is,
which, that's their right.
mhm.
But anyway, the mayor and I promised that we would bring it to you guys, since this is what you guys
Mhm.
do, is evaluate things like this and put it out there for a discussion and conversation and comment and see what y'all think.
I can say, I don't like going to an air.
Yeah.
Right. Just touching it.
If I read that correctly, the grant funds that are between 30 and 60,000 that are available. But then the lowest cost is 150.
Yeah, the grant is
So you wouldn't
50,000,
Even get half of
Right.
what you need
right,
for the
yes.
cheapest.
Mhm.
It sounds like you've got a picture of Zumba instructor.
Right. Mhm.
Community.
So your statement of, why don't you just help us build the pickleball? I echo that.
Yeah.
And-
Okay,
And so. Why I never say, when someone says, here's some possible grant funding, I never say no. I always say, well, we should go for it and see what we can get. They always tend to be very competitive, and you have to be competing with a lot of other folks. But this one seems a little different in that they're selling gym equipment. And they want to give you some money up front so you can use it to buy their
yeah,
stuff.
it's like a discount.
Yeah.
Like a disc, it's a rebate.
Rebate.
discount.
Yeah.
And, it didn't smell right to me, sorry.
Well, that seems to be a unanimous thought here, you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I'll relay that to the mayor.
And
Thanks.
it's not just because I'm anti-fitness or anything like that. I realize the importance of fitness.
Yeah, and it's in the plans. I mean, we have plans to put a court over there. So it's not, that's why it sounds good, but then when you get into it, it's like, oh wait.
Focus on those.
Right.
Thank you, Walter.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Because I was just about to tell you that I checked my Gmail and I didn't receive anything. If you sent this to us, I didn't get it. But since we're all in agreement that we probably don't want it anyway, you can either resend it to me or not.
I won't sweat it then, Vic.
Don't sweat it.
Okay. Thank you.
Well,
I'm still getting used to Windows 11, sorry.
Did you have any other topics?
No, sir.
Yeah, so let's discuss and announce the date and time of our next meeting. Well, before that, does anybody have any comments or concerns? Just kind of open.
With the, I guess in that other space, I'm not familiar with it, where they're proposing the pickleball court and kind of the other thing. Is that shaded? Is it full sun?
Full sun.
We think, look at these projects, we think about like possible shade, like 10 trees now, 15 years, about shade cover.
Yeah, and like a lot of these renderings, they have, right. And then I think on one side, they're thinking even like a fence kind of landscaping shrub, vines or something to help with noise and going to the neighbors. But
And my exercise is get full sun. I'm all for exercise, having people inside. What is nice for outside, so I live in Windcrest, and we hope to make this our forever. So
Mhm.
we're investing in this. Hopefully we never. But one thing I did like over there is they had a walking path, about half a mile. And all along there, they would have different outdoor exercises. So someone in the station, you could
right,
you sort of pull up, during another station, you could step ups. And it didn't require all this. You basically have a mulch path. You can get a mulch for free.
Yeah.
And as long as you design it well, I mean, that's very cost effective and invites people to do walking and do exercise. Other than more feasible. More feasible.
Yeah.
$1,000 on the road mat and it gets 150 degrees.
right, yeah.
well, I would invite you to go to the website, go to the comprehensive plan. I mean, you can see that, connectivity and walkways, and those are things that are in the plan.
That we want, yeah,
That we
that's like you
want.
said. It's,
And you know, we're actively working on that, so.
It's hard to get the community together, but we're kind of excited because a lot of, or at least locally over there in that small segment. There's a lot of families that are very excited, young kids. And one thing that I look forward to is the ball coalition for the fathers, and like, how can we get involved in the community? We don't necessarily need engineers, but for small projects, that we can do together with the city, just to beautify our little area of the neighborhood.
right.
It's on that lot over there. We're probably gonna have to utilize it again for the contractor on the last phase. So as we use it as a staging site.
Right.
And so as we are about to start here soon with Carrollwood and reconstruction of Carrollwood and North Manton, once we finish those projects, say it's looking at 9 months, unfortunately that long, but after that, that lot will be cleared again, ready for utilization. But
Right.
right now it's the first choice for staging of a contractor. And so, but the positive thing is 2 more streets. And once that's done from reconstruction, that's it. So.
Well, and if we, after the staging, I mean, you'll have all that big equipment. If we need any pads like laid or anything, they might be able to do it too. So it's towards the end of their tenure there. So that's a thought. If we have our plan together, like maybe we can, coordinate.
Yeah. Why I
Right. Perfect.
And in your comment about Windcrest, there's a lot of young families and lots of kids. I'd need to look at, if we have some demographic data for Castle Hills currently, I know my assumption is that this is an older community with more elderly folks. But when I go to the Castle Hills events, Fiesta, there's always a lot of young children. So it'd be very interesting for me to know. I know he's my son-in-law. They have 5 children, and that's the next generation. and a lot of his friends have a lot of kids. So I think I need to get over the mindset that it's just old people living in Castle Hills. So
Right.
there's a lot of young people. And so because of that, we need to focus on, that's the reason I'm on this committee. Because I'm not going to be around, but I want to make sure that I'm gonna help leave a better place for the young people with pickleball courts and linear parks and gardening,
Walking paths.
walking
Yeah.
paths, bike paths,
Mhm.
safe bike paths where people won't get killed on West Avenue riding a bike.
Yeah.
You know?
My daughter's fine. She loves skates, she rollerblades, she bikes, and she's very active. So in terms of getting out of, because we're just on that side of the highway, Lock Hill, someone, this. So trying to figure out how we can safely get her across.
Right.
Those 2 big roads, like, it's
Yeah.
down, right? So I think anything that breeds, to me, anything that breeds community and safety.
Exactly.
Allows people to connect.
Well, we want to make, Northwest Military a main street that's walkable, so people there'll be like an Italian piazza, so we can
Yeah.
just walk and go to the different shops and things like that, as opposed to just watching for traffic coming.
Yeah.
Well, that's like, so we practice Broadway, I think it's a chance, they renovate that Broadway.
Yes. I agree.
Because there was such an opportunity there when they were doing that main thoroughfare, have bike paths and walking and shaded, but it's just full sun roads.
Mhm.
And it's hard to walk down. And I think as we're in this point of transition, because I think there are still a lot of like the older generation here, but it's in time of transition.
Right.
I think where some of those they're passing away, they pass it down to the children, or people moving in now, some of those folks pass away.
I invite you to look at our comprehensive plan, because walkability, connecting to park, from one park to another, so we go to Harburger Park and then just walk there and safely, that's all that's in there. And it's a vision for the future. We're trying to make it happen.
Yes. And Jack's gonna find us the funds.
No. And
I just-
gonna have to build it all.
Just a quick final comment on the demographics. I want to say it was the 2020 census that we put in the comprehensive plan. And if memory serves, still, although it's going down, still 40% of our population is 65 or over. So it's, but it's changing.
Mhm.
It was a lot different in 2010. So it is changing, but it's changing rapidly. I don't think, tell you the truth, I don't think the census is keeping up with the change. Because there's so many wonderful families with kids around here, like Vic talked about.
My
I know.
daughter is contributing to the change. Hey, Bernard,
Yeah.
she made a bigger contribution than he did, but it's still a big change. Sorry to
All right.
be that blunt.
Yes. Okay, so time and date of our next meeting. What do y'all think?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it's our anniversary, so we won't be here. 19th's good.
That'll work.
Sounds good.
So October 19th. Right here at 10 a.m. That work for everybody? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right. Thank y'all for coming. Thank you for working.